Fallout 76 has big plans for 2024, and I've got to tip my hat to the developers and the team behind this game. Seemingly have significantly turned this game around. I hear nothing but good things from the people that have continued to play it. I want to look at their announcement and the details. They're adding a new installment, they're expanding the map, they're doing quality of life, and there is mention of the TV show, so I'm going to get to kind of sneak in some of my thoughts about the TV show. There's been different feedback about everything we've seen from the Fallout show, and I want to be able to say a little bit about it. I don't really get to cover TV shows and movies because it's a gaming channel, but this is one of those times, and there's at least one actor in particular that I'm really excited about, and hopefully they have a significant presence in the show. So I want to look at this Fallout 76 in 2024 plan. We did a live stream about Starfield in 2024. It seems like there is a push to support games like this ongoing and to update them. Obviously, a huge difference between Fallout 76 and Starfield is that this game, Fallout, needs people to be playing. It needs that funnel, and they have seemingly done an excellent job with that. So let's take a look at what they have to say here. And I think this first part I wanted to include. Together, over 17 million players have experienced new Fallout tales and characters with Wastelanders. I think that's very, very impressive number given how poorly this game launched. The fact that it has come this far. And I just want to, on the fly, look at the Steam charts just to see. Let's kind of just throw this in the coverage. They are still averaging, 10,000 concurrent players at a given time just on Steam. In the last 24 hours, their all-time peak in the last 24 hours was 11,000. The all-time peak alone on Steam was 32,000. So as poorly as the game launched, it never even got beyond, 30,000. And I know many people are going to reply and say, well, a lot of people play on console. I would say after how poor the launch was, that they didn't even really peak beyond 30,000, that they're still pulling 1/3 of that in player peaks really shows signs of health. Now, you might say those aren't very impressive numbers, those aren't very high. My hope would be that this really is a continuation of a trend where we see a company using the existing game to just learn and invest and improve, and maybe there's a future Fallout MMO or future online Fallout game that really gleans from this journey that they've been on with Fallout 76. So let's continue reading here, because it says here, arriving in the spring of 2024, the second installment, Atlantic City, America's Playground, features an additional mission in which players will confront the legendary Jersey Devil, along with new story-driven quests, more areas to explore, and of course, plenty of rewards. So that's arriving spring of 2024, and for folks that are continuing to play the game, I mean, that's nice to have some semblance of a roadmap. Maybe we'll get more earlier in the year where they'll actually outline those details or things like that. But if you're continuing to play Fallout 76 in 2024, you've got content coming in the spring. Now, if you're watching this after the spring, there's more coming as well. And I want to look at this because this is the thing I think that kind of surprised me the most, especially considering anybody I've spoken to recently that has kind of gotten back into Fallout 76 or has given it a try. They're like, hey, it's actually good. It's actually really, really fun. I think I might jump in and be like, okay, what's going on with this game? Like, how good is it? And this part of the update really got my attention. War never changes, but that sure doesn't stop Appalachia from mutating. Later in 2024, we're expanding our map southward, deep into the wooded heartland of Shenandoah. This uncharted, once tranquil expanse in the heart of Virginia will bring a new quest line, factions, and rewards. So I think it's really impressive after all this time to expand the map. In general, games like this, that is one of the areas where I think there always is that challenge. You build your open world, you build all the open spaces, and then you try to kind of work within the confines of that. I've even said more and more some of the bigger mapped games, open world action adventure games, should really consider using those environments, like if how big the area was in Fallout 4 and then how much, how large it was in Fallout 76, leveraging all that space. I just continue to think that's something to work on and like, hey, how can we reiterate? How can we make the depth and the substance of the map itself something that continues to pay dividends? Expanding the map, I would think, is even harder. because now you're actually tacking things on. In Ghost of Tsushima, for an example, the Island of Ikishima DLC, it's like a completely separate area, right? You kind of fast travel down to it, and then you navigate it within itself. I think that's a little bit easier in games where you can sort of like almost episodically add areas. So the fact that they're expanding the map southward, it'll be very interesting to see what the reception is to that. And again, this just really makes me want to dive in and try and enjoy the game. But that's not all they're doing, right? They've got more here. They're not just expanding the map. They're not just doing expansion. Right here it says, throughout the coming year, the team is also shining a greater light on Fallout 76 beloved seasonal events. We're looking forward to running them much more frequently and offering a host of new rewards with each event. There are also plans for new seasonal events to round out our roster, so get ready to pencil in those calendars in 2024. Now, for those familiar with the title, they probably are familiar with the existing seasonal events and are probably excited to see new seasonal events. I have always thought that was just such a great way to keep a live service game relevant and worth checking out. I always liked that, like all of a sudden everything's kind of Christmassy or everything's kind of spooky for Halloween or whatever. I always like that when it's tied to like the actual seasonal things that we're experiencing. But I also think it's just such a great way to bring everybody in the game and just do something really unique and fun. And previous live service games that I have played, when they would do those, I remember doing one in New World where you were just doing stuff with presents and going around the world. I like that. It kind of is that resurgence of relevancy, and it doesn't have to be super substantive. So it's good to see that they're not just doing expansions with content and new map, but they are going to be continuing seasonal events and adding new ones. So I'm going to be keeping my eye on that. I mean, if they're going to continue to add to the game, they've got to have something special, right? And I also think, I'll talk about this more in a minute, I also think there's just such a great formula of admitting a game just isn't there, and working on it and improving it and gleaning from that. I'm going to talk about that more in just a moment, but I want to take an opportunity to be a little bit self-indulgent here, right? But we're not there yet. We don't get to talk about the TV show yet. I have to wait. It says here, among all this exciting new content, we're planning to release several additional features and improvements that benefit our avid builders and adventurers alike. Whether you've roamed Appalachia's wilds since day one or are still adjusting to the natural light outside the fluorescent halls of Vault 76, next year marks an exciting time to adventure in Fallout 76 and make friends in the wasteland. So this here, I think, is grounds to try this game out, take a peek, or at least talk to your friends or the people that have checked it out. Maybe check and see if I've given this game a shot. Check my channel. By the time you see this video, you're watching this video, maybe I've given the game a shot. Maybe I've dove in, checked out the new events, checked out the new content, and just thought, all right, what's this game like, right? Maybe we do that. Maybe I kind of plan to do a Fallout 76 in 2024, is it worth it stream, where I live stream and I play and I kind of give you some of my thoughts. Like, what's it like as a brand new player? I think that's always a significant challenge with ongoing games, is keeping existing players happy while also creating new player onboarding that doesn't feel awkward, or you don't want people feeling like they're drinking from a fire hose, where they're having to use and learn like 18 different systems and none of it makes sense. Like, I love picking apart systems like that to see how conducive they are, see how approachable they are. I think that makes for fun videos, fun content, but it also can make just for fun recommendations if a game really nails it. I remember when we did this with the Elder Scrolls Online. Sadly, not a lot of interest at the time, but I really enjoyed picking it apart and saying, hey, I've not touched the game in years. What's it like to dive in now? Doing something like that similar with Fallout 76 would be really fun. But now finally, the part that I was kind of, wanting to make sure I was able to talk about, because we don't get to cover TV shows and movies here on the channel, because that's not a good idea, right? When you're a video game channel, you got to stick to video games, right? It says here, and we can't forget the premiere of the highly anticipated Fallout TV series coming to Amazon Prime this spring. This episodic series represents a collaboration between the creative minds at Bethesda Game Studios and Kilter Films, showing an expanded look at the Fallout universe like never before, breathing the world to life with new stories, characters, and moments for both fans and newcomers. Come to join us on these country roads. Now, I'll be honest, okay? Shows like this can drive people to your game. That could be potentially why they're making sure to really push new content and quality and new things into Fallout 76 next year. We know that The Last of Us, when it debuted an episode every week on HBO, that there was a surge of sales in the game. That will likely happen also with The Last of Us 2 Remastered. That's probably why they're getting that ready to go. So that thing's in the market and ready to rock and polished and patched if they need to do any of that. And they can have that all ready to go when the show hits. Well, Fallout, the TV show, I think looks incredible. I've seen people weigh in, from different angles. But Michael Emerson is in this, and I love him. He played Benjamin Linus in Lost, which is one of my all-time favorite shows. In Person of Interest, my wife and I loved him in that, and she always just called him Benjamin Linus in that show anyway. His name was Harold Finch in that show, and we loved both of those shows, and I love Michael Emerson. Okay, many people just refer to him as Benjamin Linus. Here's the thing. He's in the trailer very briefly, but he brings such a cool air. I've always thought he would make an amazing Riddler. I know the recent Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, which I loved. I thought Dano did a great job, but I would have loved to have seen Michael Emerson at some point in time, maybe in the future, get this guy to play the Riddler. It would be incredible, but he's in there. So I actually hope this show does really, really well, because it could drive people to the series. I thought Fallout 4 was really enjoyable. I know people kind of hated on it because of the bugs and the glitches in the beginning, but I remember I went back for, I think it was called Far Harbor was the DLC. It's been a long time since I played it, but I really, really enjoyed the vibe and the feel of Fallout. I thought it was so great because I never really got into the earlier Fallout series. I was a latecomer to the series. I'm very guilty of this with some games. I come late to the game and then I end up liking it, and then it's hard to go back sometimes because the games feel so different. But Fallout 76 certainly has my attention, and if they can utilize this push of really great high-quality TV show and also then get people to check out the game, that could then put a little bit of a fire underneath of them to either really up the ante in Fallout 76 or to build a brand new game, or maybe we really start to see work done on Fallout 5. I don't know what the plans are there. With the Elder Scrolls, we know that being something that they want to work on next after Starfield. But Starfield's got big plans for itself in 2024 as well, which you got to ask that question. Are we now in the era of the fixer-upper? We saw this with No Man's Sky. We saw this with Cyberpunk. And it looks like we're maybe going to see it with Starfield. And we're definitely seeing it with Fallout 76. And I'm always curious about the financials of it. Like, how are they able to throw the bandwidth at it? Like, is the demand so low because the world and the systems are already built that it's more tinkering and refining and it's more additive within those systems? So maybe it's not as expensive. So as long as they can retain a healthy enough player base and that player base feels they're being treated well, so they're also maybe spending money. That's the part I'm always interested in, because No Man's Sky was very interesting. 7 years of free updates, and all you had to do was just buy their game. You never had to pay another dime on anything. It was just buy our game. And then Cyberpunk, years and years and years of free updates. 2.0 update was totally free, and then if you wanted to, you could buy Phantom Liberty. Very impressive turnaround for that game. One of the highlights of 2023 for me was the Phantom Liberty campaign. So Fallout 76 is sort of continuing this trend of, we're not done yet. We know this wasn't good. We know this wasn't great. Let's dig in and do the work. And they're one of the few games that we can say seemingly turned it around. I hope it benefits not just the current version of the game, but I hope it benefits the devs, and that the future iterations, if there is another sort of Fallout 76 style game, that they're able to apply all those lessons learned, because we know that the ongoing content model is so difficult. Because I've been continuing to say that the future of games that want to continue on have to think more about being a content-driven model that gets people to come back and spend money, instead of a player engagement funnel model where you have to motivate the player to keep playing constantly. I think that's very challenging. And I'll be interested to see how Fallout 76 feels like that as a game. Feel free to leave comments below. How do you engage with this game? Are you doing it in spurts? Are you always playing? Are you taking breaks? Does it allow for that sort of rhythmic engagement? Would really like to know how people treat a game like this and what that might do to shape the studio and the vision of future titles like it. So Fallout 76 in 2024 sounded promising in a TV show that I think looks pretty great. Well, we'll weigh in maybe after it's all said and done and let you know what we thought. As always, these videos typically roll over into a members-only debrief. That's a great way to support the channel. Hit the join button. You get into all my extra content. If not, I do a live show and an upload basically every day, Monday through Friday. So hit that like button and hit the subscribe button and the bell button, and I'll see you in the next video.